This is The Balanced Dilemma. We tackle the often uniquely, but not always, female dilemma, managing life, work, family, and self. I'm Maura Carlin.
And I'm Christy Derrico. At The Balanced Dilemma, we speak with women and men to hear their balanced stories. Our guests are entrepreneurs, reinventors, creators, executives, parents, and partners, telling us what we really want to know. How the heck did they manage that? And can you have it all and all at the same time?
When you think of a feel-good romance novel, you might picture something light, something you read on the beach and forget by fall. You probably don't picture a story that makes you laugh out loud and then quietly gets to you. But that's exactly what New York Times best-selling author Annabel Monaghan does, and her books and characters have a way of sneaking up on you. And today we're talking about her brand new novel due out in May, Dolly All the Time, a fake dating story about a single mom, a wealthy heir, and the moment a practical arrangement becomes something else. We're also going to get into what it really takes to write women who feel this real, and why a great love story might just be the most honest thing you read all year. Annabelle, welcome to The Balanced Dilemma.
I love that introduction, and I
Thank
love
you.
that description of the story.
Great.
When I listen back to this, I'm going to write it down and use it somewhere. I love that. Thank you. I told
Wonderful. I'm so
Maura
glad.
that you were going to say that. She is a pro at making really good intros for people, and you are not the first to say that you were going to,
Use it somewhere
go
else,
ahead,
right?
use it. So your books, Annabelle, are known for creating female characters that feel real. They make plots that women can identify with. Tell us about that. How did you corner this market? I did not set out to corner any market. If I had, I probably would still not be published. I started writing Nora Goes Off Script, which was my first book. I was writing that during the COVID lockdown. And I was a woman stuck in her house with her children and her husband. And I was like, I really need an escape out of here that does not involve like banana bread and where it is that other people are doing. And I didn't want to be watching Netflix all day. I started writing that book. And I think that I was in my home. I was like the primary person doing everything. And I just don't think that anything false could have gone into that book just based on what I was doing. And then I wrote the next book, and then I wrote the next book. And I find that I can connect when I'm writing to emotions more clearly when people are doing mundane things. So if we're all flying off in a jet to Paris, it does not feel as real to me as if we're unloading the dishwasher. You know, women who have children, who are trying to date again, they're not just thinking about, oh, he was so cute, I can't wait to see him again. They're thinking about the impact on their children, and also where are their children, and do their children need to get to school? Like, it just feels much more tangible to me to write about women who have like a lot going on.
And is that because you're inspired by people that you know, or things that you've experienced, or what people tell you? Where does it come from?
That's an interesting question. You know, my mom was a single mother. So I was raised by a single mother who dated a lot. Like, my mom was always dating. So that certainly gave me an impression of, you know, women are out dead when they're 40.
So good to hear.
And I think it was a big shock to the romance industry. They were like, why are these women so old? And I'm like, I don't think 40 is so old. So certainly that influenced me. But also, like, I've been married for 30 years. I have 3 adult children. It's been a really long time since I was footloose and fancy free. So, it's all also based on my own experience. That's why it's
Right.
fiction. That's why it's fiction, right?
Well, that's why I was sort of wondering, because you are married a long time and you haven't been in the dating world. Where do you get that inspiration? Are you the wing person for your single friends?
Oh, no. But I did date everyone in the United States before I was married. Everyone. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are married, but I probably dated your husbands. No, I just was like, I'm a person who I fall in love. Like, I fall in love all the time. Now I fall in love with like books and dining table. Like, I just fall in love with, I'm enthusiastic. So I still very much have that inside of me, like that feeling of yearning and I can't wait. You know, I feel like that about a lot of different aspects of my life still. And many of your plots and your characters are dealing with the gray areas of life: divorce, grief, parenting, reinvention, pivots, which is something we love to focus on. And why do you think those points resonated with your readers?
They resonate with me. And I think it's so important. I think that sometimes people start writing and they're like, I know what will be popular. I think that what you really should be writing is the thing that you're really interested in. Because I think it comes across. I love the gray areas. I love people who have mixed feelings. I love villains who have really nice qualities. So you're like, I'm not really sure. I love that when I read that. And I just love how you can love your children more than anything in the world and be dying for a week away from them. You
Absolutely.
know, you love your partner and also wish you could murder him just on that one day. I love the complexity of all that stuff.
Did it
And I think the
surprise
gray
you?
areas.
Did it surprise you that the readers responded to what you liked?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I have been surprised every time with every book at the reader response to my stories. The most surprising one to me was the current book that's out. It's a love story. That's about a young woman she's a former child star and now she's trying to make it as a Hollywood executive. She is the most unhinged character that I've ever written. And a few times while I was writing, I said to my editor, I was like, is this too much? Like, anyone going to be able to relate to her? And then the book came out and people were like, I'm exactly that unhinged. Like that
Really?
was not too much. That really surprised me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Your dialogue is, I guess we would say, famously witty. Is
Oh,
that how you speak? And how do you find it? Well, you know,
dialogue to write. I have a fairly easy time writing dialogue. And I think every writer that you talk to will tell you the parts that are almost impossible for them and the easy parts. It's a sound. And I've been told that I hum when I type. And which is like, I hope I don't do that in public, but I probably do. There's a rhythm to words. And so when I'm writing dialogue, I actually write it without any tags. Like, he said, she pushed her hair away. I just write the language like you would in a screenplay to get the rhythm of how people speak. It either happens or it doesn't happen. Sometimes I will reread dialogue and say, no, and I'll delete 3 pages.
Well, an exercise for writing, specifically with dialogue, is to sit in a cafe and listen to people and write down a conversation, so you
Yes.
can get used to that. So,
Yes.
did you ever do that exercise and that inspired the way you did this, or it just came naturally as the voice in your head that fell onto the page?
I think it's the voice in my head. But you know what? Off topic. I was watching Love Story, the JFK Jr. thing last night. And what I was noticing was so interesting about dialogue in that TV show is it's so natural the way somebody says something and then the response has nothing to do with what that person said. You know how they're waiting for you to finish talking so they can say their thing? That is so subtle, and they nail that in that show. I don't think I've ever written that before,
So,
but
does that mean they're narcissists and they only want to hear themselves, or are they politically inclined and never answering the question asked?
they might be both, but they might also be totally like regular people. People do this a lot. Like in awkward social situations, you're like, uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, so I think that's really interesting. And I wonder if it's written, if it works. Anyways, I'm going to try it.
Well, I'm obsessed with that show too. So, it's not winning Academy Awards, but it's good.
Yeah, no, I like it.
well, I'm going to pivot to sex.
Oh, okay.
So, so, your books include sex scenes, but they're generally considered on the clean side. I think your friend Lee Woodruff said you don't deal in fluids.
I don't deal in what?
Fluids.
Interesting. Oh, I like that.
And that really stuck with me. So
Yeah.
talk about that because one has to imagine the details. You give enough so that we know. Why do you do it that way?
Well, I mean, it's so funny the way this has evolved. So I sold Nora Goes Off Script, and we were in the editorial process. It was getting published, and my editor calls me. She's like, "Wait, there's no sex." And I said, "No, that's right. There's no sex." And she said, "Well, there has to be sex."
And I said, well, people know. I mean, sure, clothes were coming off. She's like, oh, no, you need to write a little something. And I got so in my head about it. It took me 3 weeks. And if you read that book, the sex is one paragraph, like you blink and you miss it. But I had 3 teenage sons living at home. I was just like really in my head about it. So I Googled it. How do people write sex scenes? And what I learned, which I hang on to, is there's 2 ways. One is you write a sex scene where you feel how they are together. Are they patient? Are they talking? Is one of them, what are their personalities while this is going? How are they feeling? The other way to do it is you have body parts that you name that are going places. Doesn't sound like you. And I don't read those books. Like it's not like I could never. It's not that. I just am unable to do it. And it turns out there are people who prefer to have a feeling without seeing all this stuff. And those are my readers. So I am, in the book that I'm working on right now, my editor said, you're getting better physically. And I was like, with like what a touch feels like. I'm a little less self-conscious about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've described your books as grown-up romance.
Yes.
What makes a romance grown up to you?
That it involves grown-ups. And
It's
that's
very
all.
simple.
And frankly, I mean, a 25-year-old woman is a grown-up, so I shouldn't say it that way, but I mean women who have been through some stuff and have a different perspective. And it's not because I think necessarily that that's a better story. It's because it's so much closer to where I am in life. I think that generationally, what life is like for a 23-year-old young woman right now is so far away from my experience as a 23-year-old woman that I'm not even sure I'd trust myself to write it. I also really like sneaking around in a story, also in life. I
What
think
does
it's
that
fun.
mean?
It means so if you and this adorable guy are madly in love and you're in college, you could just stay in bed all day. You could blow off class. You could just gaze into each other's eyes forever. If you have a job and a couple of kids living at home and an ex-husband and a nosy mother, you're going to have to make some arrangements, which in fiction, causes a little bit of friction. It's a little more interesting.
Right. You've got the friction, the
And
dilemma.
the time is more valuable that you get together. So I like that too. I think that's super romantic, having to sneak away. I'm having a funny thought here, Maura. We did have a woman who would put on her calendar, Carol is unavailable, and not explain what it was. I wonder what her diary entry would be for sneaking around as it's been laid out in this context. Okay, well, I would argue that if you put it in your diary, it's not as fun. It's not as sneaky. Yes. Yeah,
True.
but maybe that's why she's not available.
Well, it's really more mother duties and hiding it from your office, just saying you're not available.
Yes, that's true.
So you embrace being a writer of romance. And that's often maligned, particularly by men, as are terms, and I want to know how you feel about chick lit or beach read. Do you find it derogatory, or is that fully embraced?
When I first was doing this, the term beach read, it hit me in a weird way where I was like, oh gosh, I thought my book was smarter than that. And then I got over that because I read all the other books that are beach reads, and I'm like, those are great books. A beach read is a book that hooks you so much that you could stay on the beach all day and get a sunburn. And I find that fantastic. I'm so grateful to be there. Chick lit, I don't like it. It's kind of demeaning. I don't even really like the term women's fiction. It's
Why?
fiction. It's fiction. We don't have men's fiction.
Right.
This is the debate.
That's
Besides porn, I guess porn is men's fiction. I don't know, but I don't really like those phrases. And I have, I always tell the story. I was doing a Zoom thing with a bookstore once, and this old guy in the back raises his hand and he goes, you seem smart. Why do you write romance? And I just said a bunch of stupid things, and now I have a million comebacks I'm sure I could say next time. But the truth is, writing a romance novel, writing the books that I write takes the full capacity of my brain. I don't think of it as something less than anything else because it's honestly it's not easy to do. It takes me a full year to write a book. I work 7 days a week. It's not nothing. So if somebody tries to tell me it's nothing, it's something. So
How
speaking
is
about,
your I'm
yeah,
sorry,
go
Christy,
for
can
it.
I just how is your readership among men?
I do have some men who read. I mean, I don't know how many men read my books, but I will occasionally get messages on social media from men who are reading my books. And that's just really lovely. I also think it's such a lovely thing when men will walk a mile in our shoes. So
How
that's
about
Yes.
the men
my
in your
biggest
life?
solution.
Have your boys read the books?
So I have one. The middle one will read my books and give me notes. Like
After it's published or before?
before. Yeah. I don't want any notes after it's published. That's thank you. Goodbye. That's Goodreads. So he will get interested. My older son and my younger son wish I would stop doing this. I mean, it's just so cringy and weird. They're not interested. My husband reads all my books.
That's
And
good.
that is
That's
always
nice.
like, that's one of my favorite days of the year. He sits down, he reads the entire thing. This is before it comes out. And he's always really emotional, like choked up at the end, because there's always so much about us in all my books. You know, there's always like some inside joke or something that's happened with us over the years. That's really fun.
I love that. Speaking of work product,
Mhm.
what's your new book?
The one
Let's
I'm
see.
working on?
Yeah, no, let's know the Dolly all the time. Let's see what it looks like.
Okay. So this is it's coming out. I was using it to balance my thing. This is Dolly.
Love it.
And she's on a yacht, and that's Stuart. And I'll be honest with you, I needed to write a really rich, really successful guy to help me get over my last hero, who was like broke and creative. And I fell so in love with him. His name's Dan. I fell so in love with him that I thought, how am I ever going to write another book? So I was like, oh, rich guy might help. So here we are. Dolly all comes out May 26th.
Tell us about it.
So see, this is my first time. You guys are my first podcast talking about this book. So how's this? This is it, what it is.
We'll let you know.
Dolly is a single mother who has a full-time job and 3 side hustles. And she goes home to the town where she grew up in Rhode Island called Whitfield, Rhode Island. And she ends up in a fake dating situation with Stuart Whitfield, who is the heir to this huge real estate business and the heir apparent to the CEO job. And they fall in love.
That now you told us the whole story.
Yes, I know. I hate to spoil the ending, but it's a fake dating novel. So he needs her to make him seem like he's stable enough to get this CEO promotion. And she needs him because her family's house needs a new roof. So that's the structure of the story. It's also very much about eldest daughters who take on the full responsibility of the family. She has a brother who's disabled, who she's the one who cares for him. Her aging father, she's the one who cares for him. And Stuart is a guy who is basically entrusted with keeping the family legacy going. I went to visit Newport, Rhode Island before I started writing this book, and I thought of like the pressure all those families must have been under, like the Vanderbilts, to just like keep all that alive. Anyways, so that's what the book's about.
Speaking of story, can I
Yeah.
just ask a question? Looking at that beautiful cover, can I see it again? So all of your books have a similar cover. Can you tell us how that came about and what is it? Is it your style or the publisher? How did that happen?
I have no style, honestly. I have like literally no personal style. No. So when the first book came out, Nora Goes Off Script, they hired Sani Chu, she works for Penguin Random House. She does Emily Henry's covers. She's a cover designer who will read all of my books like twice before she starts. She's so good. And then same time next summer came out and I was like, wait, do I have a brand? Like, what is this? And so they're always designing these covers so that they don't look exactly alike, but you would see it from across the airport and be like, oh, Annabelle has a new book out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You are a brand.
Which I love. It makes me feel like my publisher's invested in me, you
Well,
know?
you're really lucky because that is one criticism that authors big and small complain about are the covers. And they really nailed it with yours because they're unique and I love the vibrant colors. And you're right, it does create a visual brand immediately. Even when I saw like box set online of some of your books, they just go together. You didn't have to change a thing. They look beautiful.
No, they were so smart the way they did them. And the first draft of this, her hair was too long. And I was like, her hair needs to be shorter. But then when it came back, she has a little bit of her ear sticking out of her sunglasses. And I was like,
Yes.
Yeah.
This is it. I love this. I think this is my favorite cover. Although I might say that every time, but I
And
think
the name Dolly, are we making any homage to Hello, Dolly? I'm not gonna sing.
no. So in the
Parton.
story,
Dolly Parton?
she's named for Dolly Parton, but in reality, 2 years ago, I was on book tour in Dallas, and the signing line was coming through, and when they do that, they put a little Post-it on the book saying who you should sign it for, and I looked at it, and I looked up at this young woman. I said, "Your name's Dolly?" And she said, "Yes." She had this smile, like, I'll never forget. And I said, "Is it short for something?" She said, "No, it's just Dolly." And I took that Post-it and I stuck it in my bag and I said, "I'm gonna write a book about Dolly."
You have to do research about these wealthy families and the pressures or how they dealt with it, or it was just how you imagined it would have been.
Well, yeah, the how they dealt with it was definitely how I imagined, but I did go up there with my husband. We had so much fun. We went on every mansion tour. And I could feel the weight because the arc of the story as you walk through those mansions is Cornelius, right? Whoever built the thing. And then in the generation of, and then they name the guy, it all fell apart. Please exit through the gift shop. And then you're like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, I mean, the wealth is so absurd and like all of it, shipping in the beams from Italy to build these houses is absurd. But just like the pressure these people must have felt. And then of course, then I go to town and I'm looking at the guy who's running the fish shop, who's would be Dolly's father. And he's got this business that he's keeping going year after year. And you know what? That's a lot of pressure too. So it's like the juxtaposition between the rich people's pressure and just regular people in a family, like taking care of your disabled family members. It's a lot of pressure.
Is it, and if I'm remembering your books correctly, there seem to be a few times where people went back to their hometowns to take care of things. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes. So same time next summer, she goes back to her parents' beach house. Summer romance, she's still in her hometown, and not it's a love story, but same time next summer she does.
And are you still in your hometown? And is that something that resonates with you? Are you afraid
Yes.
of going back to your hometown?
No, absolutely. I grew up in Los Angeles and all of my relatives are from Los Angeles, like generations. They're all there. So when I go home, it's like all of my family is there. And I have lived on the East Coast since I was 17 years old, it's like since I left for college. And when I go back, I do connect with a different part of myself that I forgot about, for better or for worse. So you go home and you walk through memories that you're not immune to because you don't walk through them all the time. And you run into people who knew your grandparents and you're like, that's weird. It's a very different experience. So when I wrote that book, same time next summer, really, I kind of channeled all of that, like all of those feelings of going home.
Yeah, but East Coast versus West Coast is such a different experience. And I'm such a New Yorker that when I think of California having similar roots, it seems like, how can that be? That's something that's a total northeast kind of thing, but it's not true. California has great history and depth, and it's so interesting, so different than New York.
Yeah, it's so different. And all of my people are there. Yeah, when I go home, it is that. I have realized now that I am such a New Yorker. Like now that I'm living in Florida, people say things like, oh, that's a good idea. We'll call them next week. I'm like, well, why can't we call them right now?
Right.
There's something very specific about being a New Yorker where everything has to happen right away.
Right away.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. And fake dating. I think you've said that it's the best romantic trope and the hill you will die on.
I'll die on it. Or I'm
What?
not
Talk
kidding.
about that.
I
Yeah.
Okay. So have either of you ever been in a situation where you had to go to your cousin's wedding to pretend with a fake date to pretend you were engaged?
No.
Of course not, because no one has. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like no one has ever been on a fake date.
But
No,
it's a theme in TV shows.
it is catnip for me. When I watched The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, I mean, in every book, there's so much fake dating out there. There's something about it that puts people in the ultimate awkward situation. There's always a time where they're going to be forced to touch or kiss to prove that they're in a real relationship. but then there's a little spark. Maybe they're in a situation where there's just one bed. I did not go that far here. But to me, it is just the awkwardness of it makes the story. And it's my favorite thing to read. So this is my first time writing it. It's as fun to write as it is to read.
Now that you're saying it, when Harry met Sally, it wasn't a date, but it started kind of similarly, like two strangers put together for a reason and spark.
Yes. Yes. It's not fake dating, but it is that kind of a feeling where you see them warming up slowly.
Is that what you mean by slow burn tension? I think that term's
Yes.
been used for your writing. It
I like
builds.
slow burn. I don't always like when I read a book and it's like it's all happening in the second chapter.
Mm,
Like I like the feeling when I'm reading a book where I am dying for that kiss.
right,
Yes.
right.
It
But
makes
do
me
you
think of High School Musical. Did you guys watch those movies?
Sure,
Do you
sure.
remember that we had to wait until the end of the second movie, 4 hours for that kiss? And then it wasn't so great. I was like, "I can't believe I waited this long."
My
Are
son
you
just
ever
Zach in the school.
really? He did?
Yes. The
Are you ever
heartthrob.
tempted to bring them together faster, to get to that kiss
Oh, always.
faster?
Always. In a first draft, it all happens in, like, the 4th chapter, because I just cannot wait, and then I have to, like, pull it back. Yes, I race to the kiss when I'm writing.
Okay. Can we talk about your life before writing?
Sure.
I mean, you were an investment banker. Does that show up in your books at all, in your characters? Or have you totally left that aside?
That's such an interesting question. I have never been asked that, and I've never really thought about it. So I will say this: I'm super interested in money, and the decisions that people make around money. I remember my editor was laughing because I told her that in Nora Goes Off Script, I put Nora's whole life through TurboTax. Like I actually made her a tax return to see exactly how much money she would have left over because it was very specific in that book, like how much money she had. I'm interested in that. But I left banking when I was 28 years old. So it's been a really long time. Like I did
Right.
that job and then I went to business school and then I did it some more. And then I realized number one, I hated it. Number two, I was terrible at it. Maybe not even in that order. Maybe I was terrible at it and I hated it and I left. So it's really been a long time, but there certainly was a lot of drama and intrigue. So
There probably was. And also what you saw and how women were perceived or treated.
yeah, yeah, there weren't a lot of women at the time, honestly. We had
Still aren't. It's one of those industries we've looked at. But I was reading your bio, and you then switched to a period of time being home with the kids. And how many years did you do that?
well, to be honest, I still am home. I mean, I was home with 3 kids until I was 37 and I wrote a book, but I was doing that while they were at school.
Right.
I was sneaking tell you how much I like sneaking around. I was sneaking around with that book. I didn't even tell anybody. I was like, "Oh, they're gone. I'm gonna write my book." So I was home the whole time. And then after I wrote my young adult books, I was writing a column for my local paper and a bunch of other places. And I just did that, in my free time while I was home with my kids. So I was home the whole time.
Do you think you had a bit of imposter syndrome that you didn't announce to people, "Hey, I'm writing"? I mean, what was the reason that you kept it a secret?
It's funny you asked that. I think it's because I'm from Los Angeles. Anyone who tells you they're writing a screenplay in Los Angeles, you roll your eyes. You're like, "Oh, really? You're writing a screen?" So I just had this feeling that if I said, "I'm writing a novel," that people would, I mean, it's absurd. And that if I said it, I wouldn't do it. No, I was very much holding the energy of that first book, like very, very close to the vest. I remember I told my husband, like in the dark, under the covers one night, and I was probably like halfway through the book. I was like, "I have something I need to tell you." He was like, "Oh God, here we go." But yeah, I think it was the first time I said it.
So there was a switch to the adult fiction in the pandemic
Yes.
because people think you were an overnight success in the pandemic. Well,
I mean,
they do.
it's hysterical.
Talk about that transition.
So I wrote my young adult novels. They were published, but they weren't a big success. And then I wrote this column for 10 years. And the column, for whatever reason, was a big success, much more successful than my young adult novels. And it got picked up a lot of places. And I had a lot of internet traction and people following me. And I would go speak places because of this column that I was writing for my local paper. And when I look back, I think that that was 10 years of me developing my grown up voice
Right.
and being comfortable saying how it is. Here's how it is to be a grown-up woman. These are some of the real things. So then the world shut down, 50 years old, it's COVID. Everything got really quiet. It was like I was ready, and I sat down and wrote that first book. But I mean, late start, had been trying forever. I taught novel writing for like 3 years. I mean, I'd been at this for a really long time before it clicked.
Had you always wanted to be a writer? But you went to business school.
Yes. So I was an English major and I was 100% going to be a writer. I'm not even good at anything else. It was all I wanted to do. Then I was graduating from college, or I was starting my senior year, and all of my friends were moving to New York City. And I was like, oh, wait, like I don't have any money. And how am I going to support myself to be a writer? I got to get a job. So I got a job at a bank and I did that for a couple of years and I didn't have any time to write. So like the whole writing thing went by the wayside and I realized that it was probably a ridiculous dream anyways. So then I went to business school and I felt kind of sad about it because the thing I had wanted to do, I just kind of walked away from.
And you really put it aside.
Oh, I really did. I thought, oh, that's silly. You want to be a professional basketball player. You say to kids, like, oh, you could do anything you want to do, but they can't really. So, yes, I put that.
That's such an interesting topic to me, actually, that we're told we can do anything, but there are things we really can't do. And, it's sort of interesting, but at what point do you tell someone to give up the dream?
I think never. I think you don't say anything. I think the right thing.
They figure it out.
You can't do that, but you could. I think that's very harmful. Oh, well, you must really like writing then. Wow. You must really like basketball. Whatever it is, I think you just hear them, but you don't say, oh, then for sure.
You mean
LeBron James, watch out.
I don't think I've heard a transition from finance to writing. A lot of lawyers, some doctors, but I haven't heard that one all that much. So that's interesting. And you really must have had to have shut off that creative brain in that business. And it was there all the time.
Yeah. No, I was really, I do have the left side of my brain. It's just not quite as like zingy as the other ones. I had to work pretty hard to get through business school and do that job for as long as I did. I don't regret it. It's all
you have useful knowledge. And Christy, I'd say there are some finance people that would probably disagree with you that it requires a level of creativity, much as law requires creativity, and people don't realize that.
Definitely. And I think creatives really need to take finance classes or have an understanding, which many of them don't. And it's a detriment because they get robbed with their contracts. But that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
So, Annabel, how do you say, no, I don't want to be on your committee?
Oh,
where did that come from? We found that and we totally relate to it.
Yeah. I think women give away their time a lot, which is great. It's great for our communities. Volunteering is fantastic. But I also think that the same women get relied on to volunteer for everything, and they give away more than anybody. And I think that if you have something that you want to do, you have to claw back your time before you give it away. And if I read a book called Essentialism. You guys ever heard of this book?
Mm-mm.
It's this thin. It's like just a tiny little book. And basically the point is you're going to don't do something that someone else could do. Anyways, I used to agree to do a million things that would take up crazy amounts of time. And then I stopped doing that.
Right. Was it just like one day you said, I'm done? Or did it occur over time?
I think everything with me occurs over time. I'm such a wuss. I backslide. I don't backslide. But you take your time back, and then you can really spend it on something that you really want to do, and that's going to make a better impact.
Yeah,
We spread
And
ourselves very thin.
definitely. And it's a big thing to retire from all of those freebies that we give away. And we do such a good job at, by the way.
Such a good job. We're the
any
best.
pushback when you said no, thank you?
No one cared. There's a million people to do everything. And I do tons. I do tons of other stuff. But sitting on a committee and being in a room where we're making decisions about things that I don't know anything about is not a good use of time.
I would agree.
Christy?
Yes, I have a question. So, jumping off this lovely saying no topic, can you have it all and all at the same time?
Not all at the same time. No, you can have little bits of everything. But life is so long. I, you know, I I talk to writers who are, in their early 30s and they think they're washed up. You can have so many different careers. You can have so many different lives. You can have years that are entirely not about you and your career and get back to it. I think that I have had it all. Oh, spread over 56 years.
That's such a great message.
Where can people find you to buy your books, get your newsletters, whatever place you park yourself that they can find you digitally?
I spend most of my time on Instagram at Annabel Monaghan, but everything that you would need to know about my book tour and my books and sign up for my newsletter is on annabelmonaghan.com. I don't send my newsletter as often as I should, but it's there. It's coming once a month, maybe. It's free.
How human. My friend
When's
is doing
Dolly
this-
coming out, though?
Oh, yes,
Tell us
Dolly.
when to expect
Dolly comes
Dolly.
out May 20.
Okay, so in time for the summer, a beach
Yes.
read, because we all can't wait for this winter to be over.
Yes. And I'm doing my book launch right near you guys. It'll be at the Wainwright House in Rye, New York. And that's going to go live pretty soon. That is my favorite night of the year. It is so fun. We do a big thing under the tent and we have wine and snacks and books, and it's super fun.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great talking to you, getting to know you better, and hearing all about your books and inspiration and career.
Well, thank you. Thank you both so much for having me. This was fun.
Great.
Please follow us, listen to us, and rate us on our platforms, Spotify, Apple, and our website, thebalanceddilemma.com, where you can also subscribe to our newsletter and email us your suggestions. There's no cost, but it means a lot to us.